Hello, and welcome to your weekly meditation. This is March 4th, 2022, which happens to be the new moon in Pisces. I, as a Pisces, love this new moon. And for anyone who doesn't know, new moons are conducive to beginning new things, new beginnings, right? And so we're going to play a little bit with that in our meditation today and see about maybe setting some intentions to go with us through the moon cycle, which is approximately a month long. Yeah. That said, you don't have to worry about any of that. I'll talk you through it. Go ahead and just find that long spine. I often refer to it as the neutral spine or the elongated spine. Hopefully, the bones stack one on top of the other, right? So we don't have to work so hard to hold ourselves up. And at the same time, hopefully, there's just a little bit of space between each of the vertebrae so that there's clear communication, right, through the spinal column. And when I mean communication, that's like your neural impulses, right? That's the energetic flow, the electricity that flows through it, the blood, the lymphatic fluid, etc. So, do the best with what you have today. There is no perfect way to do this. You're not doing anything wrong. We're just showing up and exploring our body as it is at this moment and hopefully accepting it as it is in this moment. Brief scan just to see if you're holding any muscular tension where it is not needed. And if so, trying to soften that. A particularly useful place to check into are the eyes, letting the eyes soften and have a very soft focus. And we have our eyes closed, or pardon me, maybe they're just a little open, right, with the gaze downward. But still, even that is that almost like you're staring off into space. Gaze. And let's briefly just check into the breath. I talk a lot about how we can utilize the breath for so many, so many things. But the main thing I like to bring your awareness to the breath for is the communication it has with the nervous system. It is one of the fastest ways for us to activate either our fight, flight, or freeze, or to activate our rest and digest. Those are super simple terms, right? But I think it tells us the basis. And we need different things at different times. So if you're feeling really lethargic, depressed, down, like you don't have energy, you're overwhelmed, you don't have enough, you don't have enough time to get your things done, you might go with a slightly quicker breath, not hyperventilation or anything like that. If you're feeling like you're really forgetful, anxious, worried, there's a lot of fear coming up, things like that, you might consider slowing the breath down, working with a little bit of a deeper breath. And as always, with all of that, I encourage you, if a teacher tells you something, try it in your body, observe what you feel, and then figure out when that would be a useful breath for you and put it in your back pocket, put it in your tool belt, and pull it out when it's right for you. And I'd like to start with just a little compassion practice based on Tonglen, if you know Tonglen, or loving kindness meditation also comes from that. Every time that you inhale, right, actually, start with one thing first. Imagine someone that you know, that you love, who's suffering with something right now, has some pain. And then every time you inhale, I want you to imagine that you can inhale their pain, their suffering in. And don't fear, because you have this heart center where you're connected to source, and this heart center transforms that energy. So you're not just sucking it in, you're not holding it, right? And letting the pain be in you. You're transforming the pain. And then every time you exhale, you're exhaling out light and love and peace and ease to this being that you're working with. So I'll repeat that again. Every time we inhale, we're inhaling our loved ones' pain and suffering. We're transforming that in the center of our heart through our connection to source. And every time we exhale to our loved one light and love and peace and ease. I like specificity. You probably know that about me. So, with my loved one, if I know that they're suffering from a certain fear, right, or body pains or various things, I can even think about those things. I can imagine that every time I inhale, right, that's part of that suffering and pain. I can be specific with what I know they're working with, what they're suffering from. And I can imagine that I can take that in and transform that and bring them back peace and ease. Now, if it's okay in your practice, I'd like you to expand everybody who has ever had that thing that your loved one is suffering with, suffering from. So if it were a divorce, say, then you bring in every being that's ever gone through a divorce or a separation. And now we're making that circle a little bigger. We're imagining that we can bring all of that suffering and pain in on an inhale, our beautiful heart connected to source. It's not us, we're vessels, right? Source, through our heart center, transforms that into every being who's ever dealt with that, right? Same issue our loved one has. We breathe out light and love and peace and ease, or whatever words you want to use. You don't have to use my words. So we're just widening our circle. If anything feels like too much, don't take it on. And then, if it's okay with you and your practice, now imagine all beings everywhere, whatever pain or suffering they have, that you're able to breathe that in. And through your connection to source, right? Again, being a vessel of that energy, we can transform that and send back out ease, relief, peace, happiness, joy, light, love, abundance. And that can be humans, that can be our animal companions, and that can be the trees, Mama Gaia herself, any beings anywhere in our universe. And just to point it out, we are a being in this universe as well. So add yourself into that group. Every inhale, We breathe in suffering and pain of all beings in the universe. Our heart center transforms that through our connection to source, whatever your source is. And we breathe out light and love and peace and ease and joy, right? Whatever words you'd like to use there. And then I'm going to bring in Heidi Rose Robbins is an astrologer that I really like, and she's also a poet, and she writes these beautiful images that I often work with. And so I'm going to bring a little bit of her in here for us. So now I want you to imagine this. You are on a shore. The vastness of the ocean opens something up inside you. Imagine yourself as an open chalice, a conduit for inspiration, a receptive vessel for the intuition. And that our only job is to be available to all that wants to move through, right, and animate us. There is something electric and exciting in the air, and you can taste something new. In this space, as this receptive vehicle for intuition, right, we are listening, we are deeply listening. But in that new moon way, can we also be willing in a profound way to let go of old self definitions? Because these intuitive whispers can only work through a vessel that's willing to welcome the new. So the moon is new, you are new, and you are connected ever more intimately with something greater than yourself. And that connection brings us ever more to this thing called life. So in our visualization, we are still on the shore, but maybe we started to visualize ourselves as an open chalice, right? A receptive vessel for source to move through us. And then with this imagery, I started to go into this space where I started to imagine, I play a lot with dissolving boundaries and borders around me. Right? So that I can imagine that the border between my skin and the sand or whatever beach, whatever my beach contains, right, starts to dissolve and I become part of the beach. The beach becomes part of me. And there's no longer a boundary between me and the ocean. Between me and the air around me, my muscles, my skin, my skeleton, right, all start to dissolve and become part of all that is around me. And I know for some people this is scary, but we become part of what is often referred to as the void, that place of mystery and unknown, that place where we most strongly connect to source. And maybe trusting, right? Trusting yourself and your intuition enough to know that even being in this void, you have the deepest connection you could possibly get. And you are supported and you are held with this amazing electricity and energy and love all around you. And that's our connection to source. Yeah. So now I want you to imagine that as we start to come back into our body, the first thing I want you to imagine in that void, right, is your heart. Let your heart start to reform, but it's still connected on all sides to source. Source has a direct connection to our heart always. So that even when we start to build our body around that heart and we start to imagine our lungs and our other organs and the rib cage, which protects our heart and our bones and our skeleton and our muscles and our right cardiovascular system, our lymphatic system, we start to imagine our body, right, being, quote, rebuilt. That's not the best word, probably, but reestablishing itself. That heart is right in the center of all of that, still connected to source. And then if you'd like to imagine your beautiful body now reestablished on that beach one more time, looking out at that amazing ocean, that depth, that mystery of the ocean, the unknown there. But again, still feeling that connection to source, knowing that we're a vessel, right, for whatever needs to move through us and help animate us. And then let's come back into the space that we're presently in and come into that body in that space. All right, but every time we do those visualizations, remembering that's there for you to access at any point in time. And that can still be a part of us, right, even in the present. Feel if the energy has shifted at all in, around, through your body. And even though we're this beautiful open vessel, also knowing that, again, we are held, maybe even feeling that you're being held. That dark matter, that air, that ether, that earth, that gravity, that, right, all of those things, feel those things come in around you and hold you and support you. And through all of those elements, anything can manifest. I find that fascinating. Let's bring our hands together in front of our heart. Inhale. Exhale, bowing the head into the heart and just taking a moment and, with your hands right there at your heart, right? With your head bowing into your heart, that connection to source. And may all of us, may all beings everywhere be an open vessel so that source can move through us and animate us. Namaste. May you have a glorious new moon. Oh, the one thing I wanted to do, friends, maybe you'll take just a moment to do this now that we're done. I was going to have us think about some intentions. An intention, many intentions you may want to set to go through this next moon cycle. So if you had anything come up for you, or if you want to take just a couple of moments and just to pause and think about it and write down and then fold it up somewhere. If you've got crystals, I like to put mine with crystals, but otherwise sometimes I'll put it in a wallet or somewhere and then I'll pull it out. I'll be like, oh yeah, that's right, I'd like to set that intention. So may you be well.